In the 5th year of my paralysis, my wife was assaulted right beside me. Overwhelmed with guilt, she took her own life. When the police questioned me for information about the attacker, I told them I saw nothing. My father-in-law and mother-in-law knelt before me. Liam, you've been paralyzed for 5 years. Your own parents haven't helped you for a single day, but our Sophia worked and cared for you tirelessly. She was attacked right beside you. You must have seen the criminal. Please, tell us who that monster is. My 8-year-old daughter, her eyes brimming with tears, asked me, Daddy, who was it that killed Mommy? I still refused to answer. The entire internet called me an ungrateful monster and wished me a horrible death. 20 years later, my daughter found me fighting a stray dog for a scrap of food. She was carrying a memory extractor and broadcasting everything live to the world. I spent 10 years studying abroad, developing this memory extraction technology just to get justice for my mother, she announced. Today, I'm going to show everyone exactly who this rapist is that you've been so desperate to protect. But when they saw the true culprit in my memories, everyone was stunned. When my daughter found me, I was on all fours, gnawing on a bone I just snatched from a stray dog. She approached with my in-laws and a crowd of reporters, looking down at me with cold indifference in her eyes. Dad, when Mom was alive, she took perfect care of you, even after you were paralyzed. She never let you suffer for a moment. Now that she's gone, you have no one. You've spent 20 years on the streets of Chicago, eating garbage, living worse than an animal. And all because you insist on protecting a rapist. Was it worth it? I lifted my head and looked at my daughter quietly. She was all grown up, with a mature, determined expression that looked so much like her mother's. For a moment, it was like I was seeing Sophia again. A sharp pain pierced my chest. I forced a smile at my daughter but said nothing. She frowned, then took a complex-looking silver helmet from a case she was carrying. Dad, I'm asking you one last time. Who was the rapist that killed Mom? She demanded. If you won't tell me, I'll have to use this memory extractor to take the memories by force. When I do, not only will your secret be exposed, but you'll feel a pain like countless drills boring into your skull at once. My expression changed instantly, and I shook my head frantically. No, Chloe, you can't read that memory. That can't ever be made public. My daughter's voice grew colder as she looked at me. So now you're scared? I spent 10 years at MIT developing this technology for one reason, to get justice for my mother. And today, no matter what, I'm going to let the whole world see who this criminal you're protecting really is. With that, she had her assistants strap me forcefully into a chair. I struggled, pleading with her. Chloe, please stop. You can't reveal this. If you do, you'll regret it. Regret? She scoffed, her face like ice as she placed the helmet on my head. Dad, the biggest regret of my life is that I ever looked up to an ungrateful man like you as my hero. The harder you try to protect that monster, the more determined I am to expose him. And with that, my daughter mercilessly hit the activation switch. Instantly, 2 thick silver needles extended from inside the helmet. They pierced my skin, slowly drilling into my temples. Blood trickled down my face as an agonizing pain sent my entire body into convulsions. At the same time, a massive projection screen nearby flickered to life, displaying my memories like a film for everyone to see. The memory began on the day my in-laws threw me out of their house. Sophia dedicated herself to caring for you all these years, and we treated you like our own son, but you've broken our hearts, my father-in-law yelled. Get out, and don't come back unless you're ready to name him. We can't live with an accomplice to a crime. The door slammed shut in my face before I could say a word. After that, my life on the streets began. A scavenger stole my wheelchair and sold it for scrap. I remember crawling through the mud during a downpour, dragging my useless legs, just to find an overpass to sleep under. I remember lying next to a dumpster in the blistering summer heat, digging for anything to eat, and feeling like I'd struck gold when I found half a moldy piece of bread, carefully wiping off the worst spots before devouring it. I remember being robbed of my coat on a freezing winter night, my hands cracking and turning purple from the cold, nearly freezing to death in a snowdrift. I remember being cornered late one night by a group of vigilantes. You're the piece of trash who watched his wife get attacked and refused to talk, right? One of them sneered. We came to give you what you deserve, for her sake. Now talk. Who's the monster you're protecting? When I remained silent, they strung me up and used me as a punching bag. They beat me until I was bloody and broke several of my ribs, but I clenched my jaw and never said the name. As these scenes played out, the live chat on the stream went wild. My God, he's been through hell. Why won't he just say who did it? One comment read, this is what they mean when they say pitiful people have their own hateful flaws. I can't understand why he'd protect the monster who attacked his own wife. Exactly, it's disgusting. He's got no spine. He deserves everything he gets, another posted. This is his karma. He should have been beaten to death. Even my daughter, Chloe, was watching me with a complicated expression. Who could possibly be worth this? She murmured. Worth living a life worse than death just to protect them? The agony of the memories, combined with the torture from the device, was overwhelming. I tried to fight it, to resist, but a deeper memory surfaced on the screen, completely beyond my control. The memory was of a blistering summer day. I was inspecting a construction site in downtown Chicago. Sophia was walking toward me carrying a lunch pail. Liam, she called out, I made your favorite pot roast. Come take a break and eat. Just then, one of the foremen next to me yelled, Look out, we've got falling rebar. I snapped my head up and saw a cable on the crane high above had snapped. A bundle of steel rebar was plummeting from more than 10 stories up. Down below, Sophia was completely oblivious. Sophia, move! I screamed, sprinting toward her as fast as I could and shoving her out of the way with all my strength. I managed to push Sophia into a safe zone, but the rebar slammed into me, impaling me through the lower back. I heard the sickening crack of my own bones just before I blacked out. When I woke up, I was in a hospital room at Northwestern Memorial. A doctor was speaking to Sophia. There's severe spinal nerve damage, he was saying. He's lucky to be alive, but I'm afraid he's going to be paralyzed for the rest of his life. Seeing this, the live stream's chat erupted. Oh my God, he was paralyzed because he saved his wife. So he really did love her. Yeah, look at him. He literally threw himself in front of falling steel for her. He was willing to die for her. Chloe watched, her eyes welling up. Dad, you were paralyzed saving Mom. Why did you never tell me? It was true. In all those years, I had never told her. I hadn't wanted Sophia to face any blame or pressure from the outside world, so I'd made her promise not to tell anyone how I got hurt. My father-in-law, Mr. Davis, shot me a hard look. So what if he loved her back then? That doesn't change the fact that now he's protecting the man who killed her. Hearing that, the flicker of doubt in Chloe's eyes vanished, replaced by steel. Keep going, she commanded. I want to know everything. The image on the screen shifted, moving forward in time to after my accident. The memory showed Sophia coming home from work, exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes. She came to my bedside to give me a sponge bath. When she saw that I had soiled myself, there wasn't a trace of disgust in her eyes, only pain and guilt. Oh, Liam, did you have an upset stomach last night? She murmured, gently brushing the hair from my forehead. I'm so sorry. I've been so exhausted from work. I must have slept right through it. I should have checked on your blanket. You must have been so uncomfortable. She quickly got a basin of warm water and began to clean me. When she reached the mess, she showed no disgust at all. Instead, she spoke gently as if to a child. My Liam always loved to be clean. Let's get you feeling fresh again. I watched her in silence for a long time before finally speaking. Sophia, I'm a cripple. You're still young. You should leave me and find someone else. I don't want to ruin your life. Her hands stopped, and her eyes instantly filled with tears. She looked right at me, her voice firm. No, Liam, we made a vow. For better or for worse, in sickness and in health. I will never, ever abandon you. I pounded on my own useless legs in frustration. But I'm dragging you down, I cried. Sophia grabbed my hand, her own tears falling. Don't say that, Liam. You could never be a burden to me. I've already arranged for Chloe to stay with my parents so they can help out. That way I can work and still take care of you. Don't worry. As long as I'm with you, I don't feel tired at all. The live chat filled with comments again. Wow, his wife was so kind. She really loved him. Seriously, even though he was paralyzed because of her, she really stepped up. How many people would take care of a paralyzed spouse for years without a single complaint? And it's obvious Liam loved her just as much. So why would he protect her attacker? Chloe looked at me, her voice trembling with confusion. If you wanted Mom to be happy, why wouldn't you get justice for her? Why would you protect the person who destroyed her? I didn't answer her. I just stared at Sophia's face on the screen, tears streaming down my own. Seeing my silence, Chloe took a deep breath and gave a cold order to the technician. Increase the power. I want to see the memory of the attacker now. The technician checked my vitals and looked at her nervously. Professor Miller, we can't. Your father's blood pressure and heart rate are already critical. Any more power and his body will give out. Chloe looked over at me. Seeing the agony on my face, her expression softened slightly. Dad, I'll give you one last chance, she said. Tell me who it was right now, and we can stop this. But I just shook my head, tears in my eyes. Chloe, I'm begging you. Please, don't look any further. Seeing that I still wouldn't give in, her eyes filled with disappointment. "This has been my entire life's mission," she said, her voice hardening. "I will not stop until I find out who killed my mother." She took a deep breath and said with finality, "Increase the power." At her command, a powerful surge shot through me. The pain was so intense I couldn't breathe, and my vision began to blur. At that exact moment, a new memory flashed onto the screen. When the crowd saw what it was, they were all left speechless. It was a gray, overcast evening. Sophia was standing on the edge of our apartment balcony. She looked so small and fragile, like a piece of paper that might be carried away by the wind. She turned to look at me, her face gaunt and streaked with tears of self-loathing. "Liam, I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I'm tainted now. I can't face you anymore." From my wheelchair, I cried out, my voice choked with sobs. "No, Sophia, it doesn't matter. To me, you'll always be perfect. Please just come back inside. Don't do this." She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I don't deserve you anymore. I don't deserve this family. Take care of Chloe," she said. "I'll love you again in the next life." And with that, she turned and leaped from the balcony. "No!" The version of me in the memory let out a soul-shattering scream. The scene sent the live chat into a frenzy. "Oh my God. So she killed herself because she felt tainted and couldn't face the husband she loved. She gave everything for Liam. She was the real victim here. I'm actually crying. How could he deserve that kind of love? His wife died because she loved him too much, and he's still protecting the monster who caused it." Watching the image of her mother's suicide, my daughter, who had always been so strong, finally broke down, crying out, "Mom!" My in-laws clutched their chests, sobbing. "My poor Sophia, you didn't do anything wrong. Why did you have to take all the blame?" The room was filled with the sound of weeping. Everyone was mourning Sophia. Only I watched, my breath coming in ragged gasps. "Please stop," I whispered. "I can't watch anymore." But Chloe stared at the screen, wiping away her tears. "No," she said, her voice firm. "I have to know the truth. I have to see who did this to my mother." She turned to the technician. "Keep going. Skip ahead. Lock onto the memory of the attacker." The technician pushed the device's power to its maximum setting, but the screen went blank. "Professor Miller, your father has created a powerful mental block around that memory," the technician said, alarmed. "If I push any harder, it will kill him." Just as he finished speaking, I coughed violently, spraying blood from my mouth. I couldn't fight it anymore and collapsed into unconsciousness. The last sound I heard being Chloe's frantic voice yelling, "Quick! Someone call 911. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a hospital bed. My entire body ached, and a dull, drilling pain throbbed at my temples. The after effects of the memory extractor made my vision blurry, and it took me a moment to focus on the person sitting by my bed. It was my daughter, Chloe. She was gently wiping the grime and dried blood from my face with a warm washcloth. Her touch was light, and her expression was complicated, as if she were lost in thought. My in-laws, the Devises, stood a short distance away. When he saw I was awake, Mr. Davis rushed to my bedside, his voice trembling with emotion. "Liam, do you have any idea you almost died? Were you really going to throw your life away for that monster?" I opened my mouth to speak, but my throat was too dry to make a sound. Just then, Chloe spoke up. "Grandpa, the doctor said Dad needs to rest. He can't be agitated right now. Please, you and Grandma should step outside for a bit." Her grandfather stared at her, stunned. "Chloe, what are you saying? Are you actually feeling sorry for this ungrateful man now?" Mrs. Davis looked equally shocked. "Yes, Chloe. Have you forgotten what happened to your mother? Have you forgotten everything you've been through all these years? How can you back down now, before we've found the man who killed her?" "I haven't forgotten," Chloe said, her eyes downcast as she continued to clean my face. Her voice, however, was firm. "But please don't pressure Dad about this anymore. Right now, all I want is for him to be okay." Mr. Davis's brow furrowed, and his finger, pointing at me, trembled. "Chloe, tell me the truth. Did he threaten you? Did he tell you something? You swore you would find your mother's killer. Why are you suddenly defending him?" Chloe just shook her head. "It has nothing to do with Dad. Please, just go." Seeing her resolve, her grandparents looked utterly defeated. "Fine, if you won't find him," her grandfather said, "then your grandmother and I will do it ourselves." With that, my in-laws stormed out of the room, leaving Chloe and me alone. She didn't say anything, just continued to quietly take care of me. After she finished cleaning me up, she carefully poured a glass of warm water and helped me drink. When I was done, I found my voice and asked softly, "Why?" Her hand paused for a second. She didn't look at me, just whispered, "Dad, I'm sorry." A jolt went through me. "What are you sorry for?" She set the glass down and finally met my gaze. Her eyes, so much like her mother's, were shining with unshed tears that she stubbornly refused to let fall. "I know who attacked Mom," she said. My breath hitched, and I grabbed her wrist. "How? How do you know? Did the machine show you something at the very end?" She shook her head, and a single tear finally escaped, tracing a path down her cheek. "No, but I kept replaying that last memory of Mom on the balcony. And then, I understood everything." She squeezed my hand, her own fingers trembling. "Dad, you've suffered so much all these years. I'm so sorry. It's my fault. I hated you for so long, and I almost killed you with that machine." She didn't explain how she knew, but looking into her eyes, filled with so much guilt, I could tell she understood. She knew the whole truth, the secret I had suffered for decades to protect. I hadn't been able to hide it from her after all. Of course, I should have known. She was always so smart and observant, just like her mother. The woman who invented a memory extractor at such a young age. How could she not have figured it out? In the days that followed, Chloe's attitude toward me changed completely. The disgust and rejection were gone, replaced by a deep respect. She came to the hospital every day to carefully wash my face and feed me my meals. The world-renowned Professor Miller canceled all her engagements to come to the hospital and willingly help me with bedpans, never showing a hint of disgust. As I grew stronger, she would take me outside for walks in my wheelchair. My once cold daughter became talkative. She started telling me about her childhood, about how she threw herself into her studies without a mother or father to guide her, and how she eventually got into research. She told me about her triumphs and struggles, about the fascinating people she'd met in her field. We would talk for hours about everything and nothing, but by an unspoken agreement, we never mentioned her mother, or the tragedy that took her from us. My in-laws still visited from time to time. Each time, they would try to get me to talk. When I remained silent, they would turn on Chloe, demanding to know why she had changed her mind. "Chloe, please, tell your grandmother what's going on," Mrs. Davis would plead, grabbing her hand. "Is he blackmailing you with something?" She was desperate for an answer, her eyes always filled with tears. But Chloe had made the same choice I had. "Grandma, please don't speculate," she'd say gently. "Let's just let this rest. Please don't ask anymore." This response only made her grandmother more upset. "Chloe, your father has lost his mind. Have you lost yours too? Are you really going to help him protect the monster who attacked your mother?" Mr. Davis was furious. "I'm telling you both, as long as I'm still breathing, I will find that son of a bitch. I refuse to believe there's no justice in this world, that your mother's death will mean nothing." When they couldn't get anything out of us, my in-laws resorted to more extreme measures. They called a press conference right outside the hospital. "It is because of that ungrateful monster, Liam Miller, that our daughter's death remains a mystery," Mr. Davis declared to the cameras. "And now, he has somehow convinced our granddaughter to help him protect the killer. Our daughter was a good person her entire life. Does she deserve such a tragic end? Why? Why do good people suffer while the wicked get away with everything? Why can't our daughter even get the justice she deserves?" Their emotional plea created a firestorm on the internet. The public outrage exploded again, and social media was flooded with hate for both of us. "An ungrateful husband and a traitorous daughter. They're two of a kind." Exactly, one top comment on Twitter read, "I really thought her daughter was going to finally solve this cold case with her fancy machine. What a letdown. I actually thought she was a good daughter. Turns out she's just as heartless as her father. What kind of person protects a father like that? How can someone like her be a scientist? How can she be a professor?" The public pressure became so immense that even Chloe's research institute began to feel the heat. Her director gave her an ultimatum: either publicly disown me and continue the investigation, or leave the institute. Chloe resigned without a moment's hesitation. She came to the hospital to take care of me full-time. Seeing the brilliant hands that should have been in a lab now spending their days feeding me and giving me sponge baths, I felt a pang of guilt. I had to try and talk to her. "You should go back to the institute," I told her. "I can handle this. You have such a bright future ahead of you. You don't need to be dragged into this storm with me." But she just smiled gently. "Dad, compared to what you've endured for the last 20 years, this is nothing," she said. "My only regret is that I didn't find out the truth sooner, so I could have helped you carry this." The years of neglect had taken their toll, and my body was a wreck of old injuries, so I had to stay in the hospital for long-term care. For a while, the hospital became a sanctuary, shielding me from the storm raging on the outside. Chloe had lost her job, but she didn't seem to mind. She focused all her energy on taking care of me, and her eyes were always filled with respect. But our shared silence only made my in-laws more and more furious. They couldn't understand why she had so suddenly changed her mind. They couldn't accept her siding with me, the man they saw as an accomplice. So one afternoon, while Chloe was pushing my wheelchair through the hospital garden, they made up an excuse to get her to leave me alone for a few minutes. While I was waiting for her to return, someone snuck up behind me and injected me with an anesthetic. I woke up in an abandoned factory on the south side. My arms and legs were strapped tightly to a cold metal chair. The memory extractor was on my head again. My heart seized in my chest. I quickly scanned my surroundings and saw my in-laws standing nearby, talking to the same technician from the live stream. In front of me, a camera was set up, already broadcasting live. "You're awake," Mr. Davis said, walking over to me with a grim expression. "Liam, we had to do this. It's the only way to get justice for Sophia. We're giving you one last chance. Tell us his name. If you don't blame us for what happens next." His voice was heavy with a desperate, final resolve. It was clear he would do anything for the truth. Just then, a familiar, frantic voice cried out from the factory entrance. "Grandpa! Grandma! What are you doing? Let my dad go." It was Chloe. She was breathless and pale, having clearly rushed here as soon as she found out. She tried to run to me, but her grandmother grabbed her and held her back. "Chloe, when are you going to stop being so stubborn?" Mrs. Davis demanded, clutching her granddaughter's arm. "What has he done to you? What has he said to make you forget about getting justice for your own mother? Look at what people are saying about you online. You lost your job because of him. You've ruined your future. Is he really worth all this? What would your mother think if she could see you now? You're breaking her heart." Chloe looked from her grandmother to me, her eyes filled with panic. "Grandma, please listen to me. Let him go. You can't do this. Some things are better left unsaid." Remembering how I had almost died the last time, Chloe was on the verge of tears. But her grandfather only grew more agitated. "There is no reason on earth good enough to protect a rapist," he thundered. He glared at Chloe, his voice shaking with rage. "Chloe Miller, have you forgotten how your mother died? She was attacked. Her death was never solved. And now you're siding with this monster of a father to protect her killer. Have you lost your conscience?" The live chat immediately lit up with similar sentiments. "This daughter is a lost cause. Her dad has completely brainwashed her. Seriously, her mom gave birth to her, her grandparents raised her, and now she's betraying them to protect her worthless father. It's disgusting. She's just as cold-blooded and selfish as he is. Professor, my foot. All that education was a complete waste." Chloe shook her head, sobbing. "I haven't forgotten. I could never forget how Mom died. I see her face, that look of utter despair, every single time I close my eyes. But it's because I remember, because I love her, that I can't let you do this." Her grandfather scoffed. "I think you're just being selfish. Chloe Miller, you're just as cold-hearted as he is. Your mother wasted her life on you." With that, he turned to the technician. "Start the machine. I want to see for myself who this monster is. The one Liam was willing to destroy his family and live like an animal for 20 years to protect." Chloe panicked. "No, don't start it," she screamed. The technician gave her a long, serious look. "Professor Miller, you were my mentor," he said gravely. "I don't know why you're being so irrational all of a sudden, but I can't stand by and watch you throw away your entire career. Once I reveal the truth today, the media storm will die down, and you'll be able to go back to the institute. Please don't hate me for this, Professor. I'm only trying to help you." Chloe shook her head frantically. "No, you can't reveal that memory. I would rather never work again than let that memory get out." The last time, she had been desperate to know the truth. This time, she was just as desperate to keep it hidden. Seeing her desperation, the technician's expression hardened. "Professor Miller, please stop. The scientific community needs you." Ignoring Chloe's protests, he activated the machine. The anesthetic still hadn't worn off completely, and my limbs were heavy and useless. I couldn't even speak. All I could do was lie there and feel the silver needles of the device once again press against my temples. Chloe watched, helpless, held back by her grandparents, unable to do anything to stop it. "No, Dad!" she screamed in despair as the probes pierced my skin. A wave of pain, even more intense than the last time, crashed over me. It felt like 1,000 red-hot pokers were being churned inside my skull. My entire body convulsed, the restraints digging into my skin. The pain was so blinding I nearly passed out. And through it all, the giant projection screen flickered to life. A memory I had buried for over 20 years, a raw and vulnerable moment, was exposed for millions of people to see. The scene was a hospital hallway. A much younger Sophia was sitting on a bench, head bowed, silently weeping over a piece of paper in her hands. I rushed up to her, full of concern. "Sophia, what is it? What's wrong?" She looked up at me, her eyes swimming with tears. Liam, she whispered. I'm pregnant. I was silent for a few seconds, processing. Then, I asked in disbelief, is it his? She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks, her voice barely a whisper. Yes, the doctor said, my uterine lining is very thin. If I terminate this pregnancy, I might never be able to have children. She covered her face with her hands, sobbing in despair. In the memory, I was silent again for a long time. Finally, I spoke. Then you should have the baby. She snapped her head up, staring at me in disbelief. What? I looked her right in the eye, my voice steady. I said, have the baby. It's your child and it's a life. You have the baby, and I'll raise it with you. I promise. I will never let either of you suffer. Her face filled with emotion, and she threw her arms around me. The scene shifted. Now we were in a hospital delivery room. I was awkwardly holding a tiny, swaddled baby, rocking her gently. My voice was full of love as I said, Sophia, let's name her Chloe. At this revelation, everyone watching was stunned into silence. My in-laws stood frozen, staring at me in utter disbelief, unable to speak. The truth was out. When Sophia and I first got together, she was already pregnant. To protect her reputation, I claimed the child as my own. I immediately went to her parents' house to ask for her hand in marriage. When they found out she was pregnant, they were furious. Her father beat me senseless right there on their doorstep. They blamed me for ruining her reputation, screaming every insult imaginable at me. I endured the beating and the verbal abuse, and then I knelt on their front porch for a day and a night, begging them to let me marry her. Because of that, my in-laws had never truly liked me. But now, seeing the truth, they finally understood. So all this time, we were wrong about you? They whispered, staring at the screen, their faces a mask of shock and disbelief. The live chat exploded. Oh my God, Chloe isn't Liam's biological daughter, and he knew the whole time? He still married her and raised another man's child as his own. That takes an incredible amount of love and courage. I'm so confused now. Then who was the attacker? I struggled against my bonds, trying desperately to stop the memories, but the drugs in my system left me powerless. And then, as the world watched in stunned silence, the one memory I had fought so hard to protect finally appeared on the screen. It was late at night. I was in my wheelchair on our balcony, watching the street below, waiting for Sophia to get home. After about half an hour, she finally appeared. But she wasn't alone. There was a man with her. Sophia was completely drunk, practically unconscious. Her face was flushed, her eyes were unfocused, and she was leaning heavily against him. He helped her through the door of our apartment. The man saw me in my wheelchair and froze for a second, before a mocking smirk spread across his face. Well, if it isn't the great hero Liam Miller, he sneered. Waiting up for your wife? His tone was smug, and his eyes glanced down at my paralyzed legs with open contempt. My hands clenched the arms of my wheelchair. Who are you? I demanded. Get your hands off her. Who am I? He laughed. Instead of letting go, he pulled Sophia closer, his hands starting to roam over her body. I'm her old boyfriend, asshole. What? Sophia never mentioned me. Oh, that's right. I almost forgot. That precious little girl you've been raising all these years? She's mine. And that's when I realized who he was. Ethan Vance, Sophia's ex. My breath came in ragged gasps, my voice shaking. Sophia is my wife. Chloe is my daughter. They have nothing to do with you. Get out of my house. Ethan just laughed. Oh, did I hit a nerve? He tossed Sophia onto the sofa and began tearing at her clothes. You're a real saint, Liam Miller, aren't you? He taunted. Raising my kid for me, and treating my leftovers like she's some kind of treasure? I wheeled myself forward as fast as I could and shoved him away from her. You monster. Don't you touch her. Get out now or I'm calling the cops. I had just pulled out my phone when he kicked my wheelchair over, sending me crashing to the floor. He snatched my phone and threw it off the balcony. The police? He sneered, planting his foot on my chest. Is that all you've got, you pathetic cripple? No wonder your wife gets lonely and comes looking for me to take care of her needs. A tremor ran through my entire body. What are you talking about? Nonsense. He roared with laughter. Ha ha ha. Liam, you didn't actually think Sophia was faithful to you, did you? Don't make me laugh. She's under a lot of pressure, taking care of a cripple like you day in and day out. This isn't the first time she's come out drinking with me to blow off some steam. We've slept together more times than I can count since your little accident. His words hit me like a bolt of lightning. I stared at Sophia's unconscious form, unable to believe it. I never imagined she would have betrayed me. Lying there on the floor, I felt a physical pain tear through my chest. Seeing how devastated I was, Ethan grew even bolder. "Watch closely, you useless cripple," he snarled. "I'm going to show you just how much your wife enjoys being with a real man." And then, right in front of me, he threw himself on top of Sophia. The memory was so vivid, so painful. My body began to convulse again. The scene on the screen shifted. It was morning. Sunlight streamed through the window, bright and painful. Sophia was waking up, rubbing her temples. She looked down and saw that her clothes were torn and she was exposed. She instinctively tried to cover herself, and that's when she saw me on the floor, bruised and staring blankly into space. She rushed over to help me up, but then she saw something on the floor that made her freeze. Ethan's belt, which he had clearly left behind on purpose. The color drained from her face as fragmented memories from the night before came rushing back. She looked down at her own disheveled state, then back at me. An overwhelming wave of horror and shame washed over her. "Liam, she started, sinking to the floor, tears streaming down her face. She tried to explain, but after a moment of stammering, all she could manage to say was, "Liam, I'm so sorry." The memory froze on that image, and then the screen went dark. The abandoned factory was utterly silent. I slumped in the metal chair, feeling as though my very soul had been ripped out of my body. The technician had already scrambled to remove the probes from my temples, leaving 2 small, bleeding wounds. But I felt no pain. There was only a profound exhaustion, and the hollow feeling of a burden finally being set down. I lifted my head and looked at my in-laws. They seemed to have aged 20 years in the last hour. My own vision was blurry with tears. "Do you understand now?" My voice echoed through the silent factory. My words seemed to break the spell that had fallen over the room. Under the stunned, disbelieving gaze of the Devises, I began to speak. That man was Sophia's ex-boyfriend. I couldn't say anything because it would have destroyed her reputation. If I had spoken, everyone would have known the truth about Chloe's birth. They would have known about Sophia's past. They would have known she had been unfaithful. I was already a cripple. It didn't matter what happened to me. I didn't care if they called me a monster, if they called me ungrateful. I didn't care if I had to eat garbage or get beaten half to death. None of it mattered. But I could not let Sophia's memory be destroyed. She was so kind and gentle. She took care of me for 5 years without a single word of complaint. People should remember her for her goodness, for her kindness, for how she stood by me, not for the shame she felt at the very end. As I finished speaking, a violent coughing fit seized me, and I spat up a mouthful of blood. "Dad!" Chloe cried, rushing to my side. She fumbled to wipe the blood and tears from my face, but they just kept coming. She finally broke down completely, sobbing uncontrollably. "I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I should have known. I should have understood. I never should have built that machine. I made you suffer for all those years, only to put you through this hell all over again." My in-laws stood frozen, the anger and obsession draining from their faces, replaced by shock, regret, and utter confusion. A moment later, Mrs. Davis's legs gave out, and she sank to the floor, burying her face in her hands. "How could this be?" she sobbed. "Why?" She looked up at me. "Liam, we're so sorry. We were so wrong about you." Mr. Davis just stared at me, his expression a mixture of emotions I had never seen on his face before: guilt, pain, and utter disbelief. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but all that came out was a choked whisper. "All these years, we owe you so much." Online, the live chat had completely reversed its tone. "I'm in tears. I never would have guessed this was the truth." He wasn't protecting a criminal. He was protecting his wife's honor and his daughter's future. 20 years. 20 whole years. How did he possibly endure that? We were all so wrong. We're the real monsters. "Liam Miller, we are so sorry." Soon, it wasn't just the live chat. The #1 trending topic on Twitter became the hashtag, "We owe Liam Miller an apology." 20 years of humiliation and suffering, all for a screen full of apologies from strangers. I couldn't bring myself to feel any joy. Chloe turned to face the camera, her expression serious. "You've all seen it now," she said. "This is the truth my father protected for 20 years. He loved my mother with every fiber of his being. He loved her even though she had a difficult past. He loved her even though I am not his biological daughter. He endured the hatred and misunderstanding of the entire world, just so he could protect her memory, so people would remember her as the good person she was. That is a heavy love to carry," she continued. "So please let this be the end of it. No more questions. No more investigating. Let my father live the rest of his life in peace. And please, let my mother finally rest in peace." With her final words, Chloe turned away from her devastated grandparents and the silent cameras. She carefully untied my restraints, helped me back into my wheelchair, and pushed me out of the abandoned factory. Outside, the sun was bright. Its warmth touched my cold skin, but it couldn't reach the cold that had settled deep inside my heart.